1. We began the day with Workforce Trilogy and Sustainability Next in Line to discuss a new gen workforce. Moving forward, we have the Higher Education Leader Panel with visionaries who set the foundation in young minds and are definitely not stray from Gen Z, since they have majority chunk of Gen Z as their students. I welcome on stage our esteemed academicians. To begin with, I introduce the moderator for this panel discussion, Mr. Hitesh Gosai, CEO at One Lattice. Next, we have Dr. Ajit Parulekar, Director, Goa Institute of Management. May we have a round of applause? Next, we have Dr. Chattopadhay, Group Director Designate, IMT Ghaziabad. Next in line, we have Dr. PC Biswal, Director, IMI Bhubaneswar. Coming up next is Dr. Anurag Singh, Director, IBM GLA University. Next, we have Dr. Prasoon Tripathi, Director, IMS University. And concluding the panel, we have Dr. Rahul Singh, Director, Apeejay School of Management. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much for this introduction, and thanks a lot, Subrat, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this panel and being able to have this conversation streaming with almost the biggest names in academia out there. Last session, after a very, very engaging, self-proclaimed youngest panel, I can reassure you that while we may not be from an age point of view, but with the energy and all the rigor, we'll make up for it. So thank you so much for this. And I'll start counterclockwise in introductions, please. So, sir, if you could.
So I'm Rahul Singh. I come from Apeejay School of Management.
Prasoon Tripathi, IMS Ghaziabad.
Yeah, very good evening. I'm Professor Anurag Singh from GLA University, Mathura.
I am PC Biswal, IMI Bhubaneswar.
Yeah, Ajit Parulekar, Goa Institute of Management.
And my name is Hitesh Gosai. Academically, I graduated from IIM Ahmedabad almost 20-ish years back, and it's great to be, I'm also faculty in a couple of institutions, so I take this liberty of having a conversation which will be a combination of the corporate learnings and the way academics works. Dr. Atish will be joining us shortly, so we'll probably take a quick break when he's here and we'll probably recontinue. So to start with, we have a very amazing topic. The topic is technology and innovation extension in how higher education works, right? And interestingly, I was very actively listening at the panel which was before us, which was having the same topic, but all of us were replaced by young corporate executives. Yes. And if you think about it, what we represent is what happens in the corporate after a couple of years. Because if a corporate executive is expecting AI to be the turnaround, we have to make sure that the kids who are going to represent that space in Nestle, Unilever, ITC, Google are adapted in a way that they can actually make it happen when they are touching the corporate environment. So that brings me to my first question, which I will address to Dr. Anurag, if that's okay. Yeah. So my question is that as an outsider, we see a lot happening in the world of corporations. Corporations are changing, job roles are changing, gig economy is taking over, technology in real sense, like I remember when I used to be in my undergrad, our only way of entertainment was sitting on a chai shop and having a conversation. But now when I go back to my alma mater, I don't see people around. and they're probably in their rooms watching their respective Netflix shows on their phones, right? But the world expectation is still the same. The world is still expecting academic rigor. The world is still expecting interpersonal skills, right? So what are the trends that you have seen in, let's say, let's talk a decade, which you think are shaping the academic world now, and in a true sense? And if you could talk specifically about, the decentralization of campuses, because, now almost all of you represent campuses which have more than one physical location, and almost everyone is like that. And second is that thematically, students are much more agile. So what's happening from a trend point of view?
Yeah, thank you for this question. So I think I can speak at length on this very topic. So I would start with something which I experienced. So it happened somewhere in March 23, not 24. And I just went to a class, and I was not teaching them. I just ventured into, because there was no professor. And I just simply asked that, well, how many of you are using ChatGPT for doing your assignments and all? And then there was just a very dead kind of a silence. I mean, no one was, the expression was as if they are hearing this phrase for the first time. So I thought, I could sense that probably this is too early. So then I engaged them with other kind of a conversation here and there. And then after around good 20, 25 minutes, when probably we were more aligned with each other, again I asked the same question, that you can put your hand on your heart and just do tell me, how many of you are using the ChatGPT? You know what happened? Every hand went up. And a couple of professors who later on got to know about it, they felt it was an affront, and they said that, sir, this is not good and perhaps we must stop. I said, probably you failed to adopt this big transformational change. So you said that, well, what is changing and what big transition I am seeing or we are witnessing? Perhaps the students are early adopter. Just in the morning also I heard one of the moderator, he was citing his son's example, that probably they are learning, getting more insight because they are more primed to the new changes. And somehow, being a, say, fraternity from the education side, I see that there is a still, though probably it's not out of willingness, but out of the compulsion, probably they are now gearing up for the technology adoption. Second thing, as you said that, well, there is a lot of a flexibility we are observing. So of course, you could see that initially around, say, 2 decades back, there was a concept of a correspondence education. But now this has now shifted to a new kind of a, say, the spectrum has evolved, that is online education. But one good part is this, that this online education is well acknowledged and is given a due share. So this is a big transition. But I would say one last thing, that the biggest challenge is to train the trainers, which is really not picking up. Bringing a changes in a curriculum is the easiest thing. But I think here a lot need to be done.
It's such an interesting coincidence that I was about to give my son's example. That, just about a couple of weeks back, his grades for chemistry were out. He's in grade 12. I don't look that old, but yes, my son is in grade 12. And his marks were not great. And I asked him questions, you did this wrong, why? And he said, I knew the answers. I just didn't write them because I was delayed and I didn't feel a need. Why do I need to prove that I know the answer to actually be acknowledged like that? And I thought that I have never thought like that also. Like if you know about it, you write about it. And his point was, if I know about it and I can address this point at any point of time, why do I need to write about it? And that brings me to the next question. But before that, let me welcome our panelist. Hi. Dr. Atish, right? Dr. Atish, could you please introduce yourself?
Okay, I think most of the people know here. So I just came back again to Delhi NCR. I just started off at IMT Ghaziabad from Monday. So it's a great pleasure being here. Thank you so much.
And as they say in the corporate world, that whoever comes last has to answer first. So the next question will be addressed to Dr. Atish. Sir, we were talking about how academic ecosystem is changing and sort of catching up with how the corporates, are expecting things to happen. And just for a refresh, we spoke about distributed campuses. Sir spoke about how students are now actively using, ChatGPT and how they are sort of, thinking of this as the way world works. Now that brings me to my question about challenges of implementation. Now, principally, we all know that the world has changed. But in an engineering college, there is a massive space called the workshop. In a B school, there is a space which is called the computer lab. And these places are becoming almost irrelevant. And suddenly, there are a lot more changes expected, which we all believe in. But that implementation of these changes is the area where we all are sort of working together. And I have two specific part of it. A lot of things which we are talking about depends on the socio-economic background of a student. Where does a student hail from? Did the student use technology extensively in their early childhood? And because graduations and post-graduations are like a melting pot of multiple socio-economic arenas. So that's the first part. And the second part is that what is the same is with faculty. So, like faculty changes, right? People move around from colleges to colleges. There are a couple of colleges which have a set of students which come from a different socioeconomic background. The faculty has taught in a certain way. And now the world is changing super fast. Things which we're seeing in decades together is happening in months now. So, specific question, what are the challenges of implementation of the new age practices from a student point of view and from the faculty point of view?
First of all, thank you, Hitesh, for this question. I would wear two hats because you have asked a general question. I will wear a hat of a university hat where you have got multiple colleges because I was leading one university just before coming back to business school. Of course, there was a business school there. And second is the business school hat. Why the university hat is important is because there you have students from various socio-economic background. Okay, and particularly if you are located in a backward area, so to say. So the university where I am coming from was located in Raigad, which is in a backward district in Maharashtra, so to say, and particularly with lot of tribal villages around. So one of the things that we had also was a scholarship scheme for deserving students. And the scholarship meant that it was 100% scholarship covering tuition, hostel, as well as the food. Okay, because that otherwise it makes no sense. And why I say this is because when my son was studying in All India Institute of Medical Sciences and the COVID was there, you have students from various socio-economic backgrounds. And I found there were students whose father were struggling to even buy a tab for the student to actually do to access things online. And I'm talking about right here in the most premier institution of the country. So I understand the context. So when earlier we used to give tuition waiver as 100% scholarship. So when this whole issue came up, I said that doesn't make any sense. There has to be the full waiver. Otherwise, even if you pay 3 lakhs for tuition, hostel, they cannot afford it. So this is the background of the students I'm talking about. I don't think there is any challenge from the student part. Reason being that even if from a challenging socioeconomic background, because the adaptation is very high and very fast. Okay, and there I don't think there is any challenge. Number one, you just need to give them the exposure and they will catch up. That's one part. Okay, and our students, even in the remotest of villages, are very, very smart. I think they're smarter than the ones in the cities. Okay, so that's first part. The second part is with respect to the faculty. Okay, now again, I think we need a diverse group of faculty to teach. Okay, why I say this? There is a group of faculty which I find nowadays who cannot deliver without an air-conditioned classroom or a LCD and all kinds of gadgets. Without that, they find it difficult to deliver. Okay, not technology savvy. They are not confident without those tech. If you go to any of the training programs of the army, okay, you will see the classes always happen on the ground with a board there. Because you cannot, when you have to give an instruction on the war field, they cannot have all those gadgets. Correct? So normally the instructor also is using, the very, very basic method. Okay. At the same time, they are also most techno-savvy. I think this, for the faculty, it is important to understand that, tech is an enabler, but the foundations remain the same. Okay. And the tech adoption for the faculty, I don't think that is a great challenge. Now it has to be the other way around. That how do I present myself without the help of all those technology? That's the other challenge. Okay. That's what I look at it, the way I look at it. The ecosystem that we're talking about, I think this is continuously evolving. It is for the faculty to keep on upgrading and keep pace. The good part is that you have got many, many resources which are available right now, okay, which can be used more so for the faculty development. So one of the things that I had done was to integrate Coursera for campus as part of the curriculum, which means that instead of, if we earlier used to give, and Ajit knows it very well, textbooks, correct? We replaced it with Coursera material. Now, when that has to be given, that means that the faculty has to also first, go through that, and we made it that it is a requirement for the faculty to also get the certification. Okay, so that was a requirement, and the faculty development happens through that means. So I don't think it's a challenge. It's the leadership which needs to reorient themselves in a manner so that both faculty, the faculty is more up to the speed, student will gain speed automatically.
Oh, this is phenomenal. And just from a, thank you so much. Just from a validation point of view, could I have this question open for all? That whatever, Dr. Atish mentioned, it's basically almost, path breaking in terms of how campuses are sort of almost bearing in pace. But is it similar paced across, because you spoke about a very premium institution as an example, you spoke about university ecosystem, you spoke about Coursera integration. These are all representative of a organizational structure of a certain stature. And you spoke about, despite the institution being in Raigad, but still the orientation was very forthcoming. But my question is to you who have either taught or are currently participating in a campus which probably doesn't enjoy that kind of exposure, for a better word. Now, how does it work for you? So, sir, if I can get your feedback, please.
So, question is fine. What is the context? Which side of the exposure you're talking as a professor?
As faculty, yes. I was actually very impressed with this, so I thought I want to go deeper into that.
So 3 layers. One is, if I don't have industry exposure, of course, I have to prepare myself better on some other side. So when I'm going to the class, I have to ensure that what I'm going to teach or the experience which I'm going to engage in, students must be happy coming out of with some learning outcomes, okay? So it cannot be a class with the prepared notes and delivery. More than the delivery, whether it is happening with gadgets or no gadgets, reception of the delivery is important. So probably one of the factors which we are missing, and I like the US system from that point of view and to an extent European system as well. In India, we have many desks in Chamber of Commerce and a couple of Directors Association and owners of the University and Business School Association, but we don't have a Professors Association. Those who are existing are part of the university system, which are political wings. But if you talk about AAUP, which is American Association of University Professors, the journal that AAUP has is Journal of Academic Freedom, the Journal of Learning. And what are the principles? The principle is, how do we enhance the learning environment? How do we enhance the capability of professors? Now, we don't talk these things in the systems or even at this kind of a stage, unfortunately, although we have started working on that. But it is not in an organized manner. But the opportunity and potential that we have, and when I'm talking this, I mean NEP opening more gates of new business schools and university systems and so on. We don't have professors to teach at a particular level of average quality, right? When our average is going down, this remains only a discussion point. So it doesn't get converted into action. So the delta is actually towards south and not north. This is my context to answer you. If I'm prepared on the variables which I'm discussing, then I'm going to be effective anyway. Because a professor is somebody who is always 360 degree. If you're publishing, you're getting rejected by journals. If you're going to the class, you're getting rejected by teachers. If you're not by students, you're not doing well, you're getting rejected by director, dean or director, right? So professor has to be relevant all the time. It is important, but university ecosystem, like Atish said, we have to ensure setting expectation, also to provide support system where we are able, as professor, right now I'm in the role of director, but I've always been doing teaching, and I will do teaching during directorship as well, just to ensure that I'm connecting to students always. We have to ensure that we are having the right kind of ecosystem support plus enabling and technology, because your topic is on technology. We have to ensure that those things are there. Closing point, none of the Indian universities is still having a tech policy to have this in the classroom. They do have a tech policy to protect their brand, but not for the classroom. While you mentioned that you have already started taking this in the course, but in US or UK or a couple of European universities, we have started having universities saying, this is my tech policy. We have decided to go AI in the classroom. Let's prepare. So I did watch a couple of medical department lectures on how to take AI into classroom from Harvard, because I didn't find one doing for business. Okay, I'm talking 2 years back. So I'll stop here. That's how we can build in.
I'll move to Dr. Tripathi. Now, we spoke a lot about,
Yeah, don't ask me, I'm a rebel. So
Sorry?
I'm a rebel, so don't ask a very controversial question.
I'll ask a very simple question.
Yeah.
And I'll go back probably a couple of years, and where the hottest conversation from a student point of view was ability and intent of students to actually develop their skills. And with technology almost sort of, being a part of everything, skill development as a key metric of corporates. And we, in the last panel, spoke about how, skills have become almost paramount because knowledge is now a commodity. And how you adapt that knowledge and sort of utilize that to, in your respective scheme of work will make you a different and sort of stand out in your corporation. So how are, universities and academic institutions taking a stance on skill development as a core engine along with obviously the academic rigor?
I say that, no, don't ask me questions, I'm a rebel, so.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't believe in the whole skill training games, because as a higher education, we are not supposed to be, we're not a skill factory.
Okay.
I believe in developing learning mindsets, because whether you believe it or don't believe it, that's the only way to survive. And people had been surviving all for 100 years only because of their learning mindset. Now, when they don't, it's our responsibility to ensure that they have a learning mindset. That's what we need to create. When they go to and they can do without having a learning mindset, maybe at the academia. Once they go back to the corporate and they don't adopt to the changes, things happening in the market and competition, they'll be thrown out of the company in 2 months' time. Right. So all that we need to. So what skill do I teach? What skill do I make him something how to use ChatGPT, and tomorrow AGI comes, something new, some new thing comes. How many things can we teach? Because these things are being outdated every couple of days, couple of months. Yeah. If we create a mindset, so organizations who are not upgrading themselves with the technology or with a mindset, they are creating a workforce which is going to be non-existence in very short term of time. Yeah. Second, coming back to, again, I do not believe that the academic rigor would remain, And I really like when Atisda said that the core, I mean, we generally use the word pedagogy.
Yeah.
We use pedagogy. And again, I say that why do you use the word pedagogy? Because this is for the children, where the responsibility of making learning happen is on the facilitator, on the teacher. We are into adult learning. By the time the person comes to me, the student comes to me, he already made up the way he learns. He's an adult learner. So that's andragogy, where the responsibility of learning happens is theirs. We need to be facilitator. Right. And for which I don't actually need to be very tech savvy. And I don't need to make them tech savvy because they are tech savvy. Are we? If we, at this point of time, if we do not know the subject well, can we survive without the technology? Do I have the command over what we are going to go and get in a class? Right. Can I take the class beyond the classroom? Yeah. Can I flip it? Can I make it action learning? How do they get engaged? Right. So that's why I say that there is no way out. I mean, we cannot say that AI. See, the more important aspect are that in ethical integration of AI into education system. That's going to, and even this generation, they want a flexible life. They are very purpose driven. Mac, you said that. Why would I write? Yeah. Very purpose driven. Yes. And organizers not meeting those purpose, and we are putting up there where they are. They are not going to work with us. They will not.
Makes sense. And so my question is to Dr. Biswal now. And I think Dr. Tripathi used a very interesting term, which is ethical integration of AI. Now, I'm focusing on the word ethical. Now, while that's the holy grail, right? A technology, the core layer is ability of...
Because you picked up this, I have something to say, because this struck me. Again, we were talking about we should be ethical.
Right.
People who survived in the long run. Only
I didn't say that. I said I wanted to go deeper into the part that while technology is changing and it's getting adapted outside the classrooms, as I say, because as you rightly said, that the purpose of the facilitator / faculty / educationist is to make sure that the yearning to learn stays, the intent to be more inquisitive stays, and everything else is an enabler to that.
Yes.
Correct. Now, technology becomes almost like the top enabler of getting access to a lot of information. As Sir said, that, in fact, just the pedagogy also can be sort of overlaid with technology. And that's where I think you used a very interesting term. And obviously that can be applied to a lot, but you used it for AI. So I wanted to go deeper on the same and say that when there are no policies, I think you mentioned about there is no technology policy. And here is a generation who is very purpose-driven and agnostic on the path to be followed. And that's where I think the role of like senior leaders comes in, right? How do you sort of poke a sharp pin on ethics here? Because while AI can do wonders, while content can do wonders, the world has evolved to a stage where I no longer have to be limited by my library, by my faculty. The world is a big canvas, right? And different geographies have different ways of addressing this. And an average student sitting in, let's say, a Patna, who has access to a journal which is getting referred in, let's say, SDA Bocconi, is now using that to make a framework of something which may not be correct from a true sense. And I think ethical integration of AI is the honest path forward. But how does ethics, at least from a structure point of view, and while everyone out there in this room and they're chatting and you're having a coffee, in a set of 5 sentences, AI always pops up to the word. So my question to Dr. Biswal, you and how are institutions thinking about it? Because I know that there's no policy, but this is happening faster than we can imagine. So how are institutions at least structuring this in the overall scheme of things?
All right. Thanks, Ajit. So let me actually answer your question in three different actually the parts. First, let me start with you talk about actually the ethicality or actually ethics angle of it. You see, in business schools, I mean, our business schools, what we talk about when we actually all the faculty members sit down and debate about it, about the curriculum. First thing, I mean, can ethics be taught? Okay. See, other can there be a single one actually the course on ethics? So teaching a course on ethics, can we make our students actually ethical? Okay. And what is found also students copying in the ethics paper. All right. So, actually the debates actually, and the faculty members coming back and complaining. So look at it actually. This is where actually the students copied in the ethics exam, right? So the debate, the discussion will continue. So then that's where I'll tell you what actually we started implementing, executing our actually the school is. So let's not think about having one single course on ethics. Can we try to bring in ethicality in each decision or each course we deliver to the students? Fine. Can there be actually let's not have a dedicated session. Let's not have a dedicated course on the ethics. Let's try to, as the faculty, as the institutions, let's practice ethics, and let's try to bring in ethics in each actually the course in each discipline, because every course in actually the business school is largely about the decision making. Fine. Let's try to bring in the ethics in each decision making we bring in. This is one part of it. With that part. Then let me come about today's actually the whole this conference is all about the AI. I'll just make actually the two things before we get into. See, one angle of it, there is a lot of debate about, yes, AI is becoming, I think one of the CEOs, I think said the future of IT department is going to be, they are going to become the HR department of AI agents. All right. So that's what, it's the way the AI agents going to be there in the industry, fine. So the IT departments are most likely will become the HR departments of the AI agents of the industry. That's one angle. There is a lot of doubt about what happens to the job, what happens to the privacy, what happens to actually all these actually the issues when the AI comes into the place. There I liked one of the professor's statement there in the Harvard University, who said, it's not, let's not fear about it. It's not that AI is going to take over our jobs, right? It's the AI enabled, the people going to take over your jobs. People, those who are actually skilled enough in AI, they are going to take over your job. Not that AI is going to take over your job. AI probably will take over some part of the mundane, kind of the automated part of the jobs. Not that AI is going to take over the jobs where largely human touch and decision making is involved. Right? AI is not going to take the major decisions. Right? So if I put these two things together, and when we actually start actually thinking about it, I see also in my school, the faculty members initially will have the doubts about it, but now at the good part of it, I see almost all my faculty members are sure, yes, this is something, because it is the discussion is about tech-enabled this one learning, right? So same thing also we actually, I discussed with the faculty, look at it. It's not that AI going to replace you. AI going to take over your job. We are preparing the students for the industry, right? So unless, if something is changing, right, that something is becoming so relevant in the industry, almost all the industry is going to adopt the AI. AI is going to help them. AI is augmenting their actual decision making. AI is augmenting actually their productivity, right? So improving their productivity. And when we are actually supplying the workforce to them, if they are not industry ready, fine, what the skills they acquire in the business schools, if they are not industry relevant, so then our own existence is actually the questionable. So with all these kind of the discussions, debates, of course, took some time. There will be actually questions. There are operational challenges. I don't think that those operational challenges are so big enough to actually stop us from actually adopting AI in this. All right. So that has happened, right? So ethicality, I'll actually one example I'll tell you. Ethicality of angle of the when you implement any technology, fine. So this is going to be there. This actually ethical question should also be there. And major ethical actually the ethicality or the question on ethics comes when we adopt the AI or the ChatGPT specifically in the business schools. Faculty members, they come back, or the invigilators exam, they will say that you look at this assignment, whatever we do, give a case study, give any assignment to the students, it's largely from the ChatGPT, right? or exams, earlier exams, many actually business schools and the faculty members and leaders are here, though we use a lot, maybe either OLT, maybe the various kind of the LMS, fine, for conducting the online quizzes, online actually examinations. Those are becoming over the period almost actually the very irrelevant kind of the thing, because faculty members are complaining, students use the ChatGPT and answer the questions, fine. So here comes, we have to think beyond that, right? So here it comes, so it is largely your exams or assessments can, if you try to ensure actually learning, our assessments cannot be unsupervised anymore. We have to have the supervised assessment tools if we want to ensure the learning. Supervised, not necessarily I mean that physically you have to be present there. We need to look at it when you bring in technology to enable, to augment our learning process, we need to actually grow and look at the various options and the availability of supervision when you actually go for the assessment of the things. Right? So ethics, that ethicality will always actually be there, and I don't see that this is going to be an option anymore. So adopting AI or bringing in AI in our curriculum and making our students industry relevant and they know how to actually utilize, whether you bring that in the part of curriculum or not, they are using anyway. And trying to restrict them is not going to help in the overall learning process. So that is going to be there. We need to actually learn. Of course, the big challenge remains how to prepare our faculty members and the resources ready for this. So those things are actually the small, as I said, operational challenges can be overcome. All right. Sure. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. This is very apt from a perspective of how all of us are taking our focus towards emerging technologies and what the limitations and rule base should be. Now I will come to the third part of the trilogy, and I think we don't have a lot of time, so I'll route this question to Dr. Parulekar. From an inclusion point of view, right? I think in the last panel, Meher and Shresth and Ankita all spoke about the fact of equitable versus equality. And there's a lot of focus on making access to opportunities in corporates and learning in academic institutions equitable, which means it should not be driven by your socioeconomic status, which is a very tangible divide, which we discussed about, but also about disabilities, also about your race, your creed, right? And disability both from mental disability and a physical disability. And almost the entire ecosystem is now talking about actively doing that. See, in the core, it was always there. It has been existing, and right to information has been existing. But now institutions have started becoming more open towards acknowledging this as a core area and making their campuses and learning inclusive. So, what is happening in the world out there, and how are institutions like yours actually taking participation and taking it to the next level?
Sure. Yeah. Let me just first say that, diversity is very region context. There's a very big region context to diversity. So if we look at, different parts of the world and different parts of the country also, I think it will make a big difference in what we look for. So it's not only socioeconomic. For example, if you look at higher education and you look at representation religion-wise, and you will find it's phenomenally different. Right. The gender imbalance you see is less inequitable right now than religion kind of representation in higher education. So I'm saying it's not a socioeconomic phenomena alone. Right. And honestly, for top institutions like us, socioeconomic is not as much of a barrier, at least in terms of financial access to education. Because if you're a top institution, every student who comes to a top institution gets access to loans. And you'll have, like SBI, there's a long line of banks who are willing to give you loans at great terms. Means you're paying interest that's lower than what you will pay for a housing loan. You had a 3-year moratorium period. Everybody gets a job at the end of it, and therefore, the kind of bad debt is very low. So I don't think socioeconomic is as alone. All put together, if you look at really diversity and inclusion, of course, it's very important. Right. And some of the challenges really we cannot take care of at higher education. Understand we are higher education. Yeah. Some of the things have to be corrected. So learning disabilities, for example, are very difficult for us to take care of at this stage. it primarily has to be till they come here, they are equipped to be able to take on higher education. Several other disabilities when you're looking at, and several other kind of, let's say, lack of privilege in that sense. Right. I think a lot of institutions, so I can just say that the Goa Institute of Management, before any other institution, I can think of, any other business school, 20 years back when I was in admissions chair, we had a diversity kind of an index built in, not because of being good to society alone, because it makes a great learning environment. Right. If you want to train people for leadership roles, and that's what business schools will do, you want as much of diversity in your classroom as possible. So you want diversity coming from education streams. So that time, in those years, 85% of people who took the CAT exam and qualified were engineers. And therefore, if you were an engineer and you had to seek admission into GIM, you would be at a disadvantage. Right? Similarly, at those point in time, you had, most of the IIMs, for example, at that time, you had like 12 to 15% of women representation on the student population. Right. And therefore, at that time, you wanted to also make sure you had more girls coming into the classroom. Yeah. And similarly, you did in terms of the state from where people came in, as well as trying to look at socioeconomic. So socioeconomic really more was doing on enablement, rather than kind of having, drop in scores or stuff like that. Yeah, that is one. The second thing is, so diversity and inclusion, if you're saying from a student standpoint, it's evolved quite a bit, over the last 20 years that I can see. A lot of institutions consciously are doing this to make sure that you have environments that can take care of part of this. Having said that, it's not easy at all. For example, so we work very closely with the Disabilities Commission. And with the Disabilities Commission, we've done audits to look at, how much are we geared to be able to take care of people coming with different disabilities. So for example, can I admit a student into the Goa Institute of Management who has, a visual challenge? And the answer is no, we cannot, because there's a whole other ecosystem that's outside our control, which we are not yet able to take care of. So what you can do is you can convert everything in a classroom into audio, and you can partly take care of instruction, but you have learning materials, Harvard case studies, you have, so many other things that are there, unless those things plug in. So we did audits to look at which are the disabilities that we can cater to. So finally, it's not about getting a tick box, but you can't admit someone that you can't cater to and give, an equitable quality of education. And therefore, and I know, and when I'm saying this for us, we are not unique in that sense. I know today there are a lot of institutions that, we collaborate and compete with, where diversity is taken, it's a very important part. The easiest part on inclusion is have campuses that are ready to be more inclusive. Right. So having physical facilities in place, having, all infrastructure in place. Right. The tougher part is having a learning ecosystem ready for it. So sensitization of faculty, making sure that, so see, if you have a whole classroom that has a particular disability, it's easy to cater to. But you have, out of 60 in a class, 59 don't have that disability and one has. And therefore having sensitization and the tools to be able to take care of that, I think is something that many institutions are not yet ready for. I hope I've kind of touched upon.
So this has been a phenomenal panel till now. We started from the fundamentals of socioeconomic divides. We went to the extent of technology and how like the leading institutions are using technology from both student point of view and professor's point of view. And we also spoke about inclusion. We spoke about how AI is almost a part of everything we do, but there is a way where it's happening in a more structured manner. We can go on forever. It's a great topic. We have got a great set of panelists. But at this stage, I would like to open it up for audience. This is your chance. We have a phenomenal set of folks sitting here who can be talking to you about things which are probably not discussed in general because this is not a part of a regular forum. So please feel free to ask questions. Is there someone who can, take the mic around? Any questions for the panel? It will be phenomenal. Else, we can do a quick wrap on it. We have. Yeah, I'm sure they have.
Good evening to respected panelists. I am Dr. Pragya Arya from Apeejay School of Management. My question is, as representatives of the academia, We've been talking about AI, technology, and sustainability throughout the day. So, as academia, what are our expectations from the industry so that the outputs that we create, our students, are employable or better suited to work in roles related to sustainability and technology? That's what my question is. Is it to a specific person? No, I think, I mean, not to a specific panelist.
So thank you, Pragya. So see, there is I just want to start with the one, say the statement which was made here, and I'm not very convinced with that. And probably that will be partly be giving an answer to you, that there is no policy on the technology for the higher institution. See, it's a catch-22 situation. If we put more policy, then the institutions start making hue and cry that, well, a lot of our regulation is being done and probably we are being cramped. And in case so it's more a kind of a open. Business school need to be very agile and they need to see exactly what are basically the industry's expectation. And accordingly, they have to gear up. No one shall come and tell you exactly that, well, these are the changes which are there. And that's why if you see around, I'm very sure it must be there in your APJ also, that whenever you do the kind of a curriculum review, there are always the people from the industry, they are invited. And what is the very purpose? It's not for the showcasing. The very purpose is to see exactly whatever we are teaching, are they really relevant? And whether after when our students will be graduating, whether they will be, say, employable or not. So probably this is the one way, then these kind of symposiums and the conferences, when you meet with the people from the industry. And this is, but at the same time, I would say that what the great expectation normally we have from the industry, every time we don't get the same kind of a response from the industry. We're always ready to cover the half mile, travel up to them. But probably something more shall happen from the industry side as well. Thank you.
You know, a lot of times we academia are very obsessed that we have to have the industry involved.
I want to say
Okay.
the same thing.
Now the question is, how can, the question is, how interested is the industry involved with the academia? Is there a skin in the game as far as the industry is concerned? Just to give you a comparison, you know what is Harvard's endowment base? It is $55 billion. I repeat, $55 billion. Okay, which is around 4.5 lakh crore. What is the total higher education budget of India? 40,000 crore. This is the comparison. So industry is not putting in any money in the academia. Only recently you find that there are alumni donations, industry donations coming in, and there are institutions which are pursuing actively the whole issue of fundraising. I think the next, next thing which will be important from the academic institutions' perspective is to learn how to raise funds. I will not name any institution, but few institutions are doing it well. Some concrete steps are being taken, but fundraising will be an important KRA of the institution leaders going forward, which is also the case in a case abroad. And the industry will also need to learn how to have a skin in the game. Only then overall the whole thing will be going up. Okay, it cannot be a one-way traffic.
That's so correct. We have just about 5 minutes, so one more question. Yes, sir, please.
Thank you so much, sir, for a great session. My question is, now we are talking about SDGs, we are talking about pilot projects. So do we have any platform where we can form an SOP, standard operating procedure, where we can have an action plan, where industry can provide an opportunity to academia, where they can work on pilot projects on SDGs. Now, example, we are using AI. So AI is being used in a lot of different sustainable, strategies that are used, and a lot of pilot projects are there. So can we use different AI technologies or AI platform to work on these, sustainable goals, SDGs, and other sustainable areas for impact assessment or whatever the, projects are? So can we have something like some pilot project studies and, some sort of, MOU or some sort of, tie-up can be happening with the industry and academia? So can some white paper be published on that or something like that? Because see, a lot of academia institutions are there, not only one, and there are a lot of industries which are coming on this. So what is your view on that, and how we can target the institutions who are working on this core sustainable area? There are very few colleges in India which are doing that. And this can be based with research-oriented project. And these students can do, okay, in terms of internship or live projects or, pilot study, something like that, sir.
Sir, could you introduce yourself, please?
Sir, my name is Deepankar and I represent IIFM.
ISM.
IIFM, sir.
IAFM.
IIFM.
IAFM.
Indian Institute of Forest Management.
Sure.
Thank you, sir. Bhopal.
So thank you, Deepankar. I think in our context, we don't have many, at least I would not call it very organized way. Please have a seat. But we do have something coming up by Development Alternatives kind of organization. If you have heard of Ashok Khosla, okay? He is a globally renowned development sector personality. But again, I go back to more organized school of thoughts. If you look at MacArthur Foundation or Columbia University, the Earth Institute, Jeffrey Sachs has created, with support of MacArthur Foundation, a chamber which is known as Sustainable Development Practices Education Association, which is offering this master's program in about 25 or 26 countries. And they have absolute clear framework and templates how these kind of studies can be done. The same is developed by Development Alternatives with the support. Terry is part of that association. Why I'm aware? Because I launched that master's program in 2009 in collaboration with the Columbia University. So there are things available. It's simply that we have to research more. However, we have to develop capabilities to be fundamentally correct, the point that you made. We have to understand that we are valuable, and we have to be confident in the value that we are creating. Right now, we are only looking for templates which are existing, but nobody has talked that can we create those templates ourselves. That's where, as academia, I'm going to miss it. Probably I have also not put in sufficient effort to it because we don't have those funding supports. I'm aware when MacArthur gave this project, they also gave $42 million to complete this assignment. So they have a leadership in that, okay? But we do have templates available. We need to contextualize it in from our ecosystem point of view. And this is absolutely sustainability and SDG. That's very much personal initiative of either individuals or organizations or universities. It depends on their motivation and passion to do it. But there are examples to it.
Thank you so much, all of you, for being a phenomenal audience. A great round of applause for the esteemed members of the panel. With this, we'd like to wrap up the panel. Thank you so much, all of you, for sort of taking time. And I'll like to thank all of you for being a patient observer and answerer to someone who is not an academician. And my apologies if I mentioned or asked something which should not be in the right. Thank you so much.
So please be seated. I request you all to be seated. We have our felicitation pending. Let's have a big round of applause for all the panel members. We extend our sincere thanks to all the esteemed leaders here who have shared their expertise and experiences over the concluding panel of the day one, and to our moderator for moderating this session. Now, before we felicitate our panel members, may I please invite on stage Mr. Rishik Prakash, a global corporate leader with more than 18 years of experience and a Gen Z mentor, to join us on stage to felicitate our lucky draw winners. So they're getting. No, sir. So please come. 2 draws. This time we have 2 lucky draws. The first one is Vineet Bhardwaj from Vyom. Union Bank of India. Then we'll call out the next one.
Sponsor gives and sponsor takes.
It is a matter of fact, there is no sponsorship there.
Now we have the second lucky draw. It's Vinay Kumar Sharma from Interglobe Hotels. May we please have you on the stage? All right. So we'll have another lucky draw. I believe Vinay Sharma is not here. Our third lucky draw for the day is Abhay Singh from IAC. I believe Abhay Singh is also not here.
I guess whosoever will come has to be really lucky.
Yes.
So many people are, leaving the queue ahead.
So our final lucky draw is Kaushiki Kesarvani, Chief Executive Officer, Virtual Startup Campus, Marconau.
Wow.
Yes.
Finally, we have got that. Lucky.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite Mr. Rahul Rakesh, Senior Director at Factors, to join us on stage in facilitating the panel members. May we have a huge round of applause for our final panel members for day one.